Good evening, everybody. Tonight is Planning Commission meeting for the Village of Morton. Today is Monday, October 26th. First order this evening is roll call.
Guile. Knapp.
Here.
Smock.
Here.
Ritterbusch.
Here.
Farrell.
Here.
Zobrist.
Here.
Keach.
Here.
Fick. DeWeese.
Here.
Quorum.
Great, thank you very much. Next item up this evening is the approval of minutes from regular meeting September 28th, 2020. Meeting notes were included in your packet. If there are any changes or omissions anyone's noted, if none, you need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve minutes.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, next up, public hearing section. Prior to going through our public hearing, our council has a brief note to the public.
Thank you. Public hearing is being held tonight pursuant to published notice. Any person wishing to make a comment to the Plan Commission will be afforded an opportunity to do so and will give their testimony under oath or affirmation. No member of the public may address the commission or cross-examine the applicant until recognized by the chair. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the Plan Commission will make a recommendation to the Village Board. The Plan Commission makes recommendations only. The Village Board is responsible for taking final action on these matters.
Great, thank you very much. First item this evening is an ordinance making amendments to Title 10 of the Morton Municipal Code. This is regarding chain link fences. It is my understanding that this is largely to account for verbiage that has not been in the code previous. Brad, do you have anything from the village that you'd like to add to that?
Well, that's exactly correct. We have not had any language that defined chain link fences or showing permitted use of chain link fences. So this is kind of clearing up what was kind of not in the ordinance before.
So a bit of housekeeping, and then also to try to delineate what is a chain link fence versus what is, for instance, a farm fence.
Yes, and there is some more language in here that speaks of other fences or other types of fences that would not be permitted, kind of clears up what is permitted, what is considered what type of fence.
The other issue it addresses is we currently have a rule that you can't fence in your gas meter, for example. And the way that's been, the current regulations have been interpreted historically is as long as you left one side of your fence open, that was okay. So you could fence the front of the house and the sides, but as long as the back was open, that was all right. That wasn't logical to me, and in consultation with Brad and our public works staff, we wanted to make sure that the meter was on the street side of the fence. So if you were to walk from the street, you could walk in a straight line to the meter and shut the gas off if there was an emergency and not have to go around the side of the yard, around the fence, and through the trees at the back of the lot to get into the backyard, essentially to shut off the gas.
In Title 8, we currently have that gas meters cannot be enclosed in fenced areas. So what would happen is someone would come in and get a fence permit. They would put the fence in front of the meter, and they would only partially fence in their yard. And then over time, the next person that owned the house would come in and they would add that piece of fence. Now it becomes an enclosed gas meter in a fenced area, which presents the safety problems for the public and our workers.
So for this table, obviously the ordinance as written or as amended has been included in your packet. Any questions or discussion points that either Brad or council can help with?
I had a question. There's a more recent revision that we just received. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the one
This
that I
evening.
set on. I did send that out in an email today, and I put a copy on your
I was
desk.
just wondering if you could point out the differences.
The revisions was just more changing of language. There was no real content.
Okay.
They were typographical,
Okay.
and I typed it myself, first mistake, instead of delegating that off. There are just a couple places where I'm repeating language for RS, R1, R2, R3, R4, and there were a couple spots in there where, I copy and paste from R2 to R3, and I missed changing in the text of it so it said in the R3 district. So they were entirely ministerial typographical corrections and not substantive.
Thank you.
What's more impressive is you just somehow got an attorney to admit that he made a mistake. I'd like that time marked.
But he charged us for that comment.
Any other questions of substance regarding this ordinance before we move on it?
I did notice that there was another mistake. You referred to slates instead of slats. Maybe they're supposed to be slates, but they're prohibited. But anyway, so my first question would be, so it looks like the chain link would be permitted. I went through and it looked like all the different zonings, the residential zones.
All residential.
All residential zones, correct.
Right. So then I was wondering how long Morton had been without chain link fences. Just forever since we created a zoning code?
To my knowledge, I've not ever seen it in the code.
And do we know why? Do we know why that wasn't permitted originally?
I'm just speculating. My speculation is it just was common practice, and it was, it just became common practice that a chain link fence was a permitted type of fence over time. And I think the intent was to have a chain link fence. I just don't feel like it was written or put in the ordinance properly. Would you agree with that?
There was certainly a disconnect between the language of the code and practice. And this is, not historical practice predating Brad and seemingly for a long period of time, because there are a number of chain link fences in and around town. The language of the code was, when this issue first came into focus in some discussions Brad and I had on a particular type of fence, whether it was permitted, I said, that type of fence, a farm fence isn't permitted, and also chain links aren't. And it's, in my opinion, exceptionally clear under the code that was deliberate. And so at some point in time, the board put that prohibition in, intending for a deliberate exclusion of chain link fences. Either that never was implemented in practice, or over time, those writing permits and handling the day-to-day business of the village overlooked the fact that chain link fences were prohibited. So it became a question of how do you reconcile prevailing practice with current regulations, and either we change regulation or change a practice. And in consultations internally, we kind of felt changing the regulations was better than changing the practice.
Because I've heard people refer to it over the years around Morton, and just, it seemed to me that they were insinuating that it was a property value thing, that, well, Morton, we don't allow, chain link fences. I don't know what the truth is there, but...
Well, there are subdivisions that don't allow chain link fences.
That would be subdivisions with covenants, and I don't enforce those. That's up to the subdivision.
That might be, but our zoning code doesn't allow them either, technically. Doesn't allow chain
That's
link
correct.
fences.
That's
correct.
It
Yes,
will
that's-
now, but
that's
it
correct,
didn't.
yes.
Yeah, so I don't know what, if that was the reasoning or not, but, so.
I think that's kind of why it's before us now. It's obviously whether it was the intent or not, it was omitted purposefully more than likely, and now we have them throughout town. It has not been enforced. So this code either says, hey, look, we're not going to go back and attack those that were allowed, and we're going to fix the code so that it allows it, or it's up to this table to determine if you want to go a different direction with it. Where was that other? You mentioned that there was another typo on here.
Slats and slates.
It's small.
We probably should catch it.
I will. You're going to make recommendations to the village board. I'll ensure that that is corrected.
It's
before
like
it
there's a
reaches the
reference to
board.
3 different types, like a bamboo slate or slates. I just figured it was slats.
Yeah,
It
was
is.
what was. Yep, I see.
So if I'm correct, what we're trying to do
Right
here
here.
is make a decision on whether or not chain link fences are allowed in this ordinance. And so going forward, if someone came in 2 months from now, we would be able to say, yes, chain links are allowed, or no, they're
That's exactly right.
Intentionally not
Yes, yes. And there is a limitation on there. It shows 48 inches. So there is a height limitation
Right.
on that. And where it can be, which is the side and rear yard, not the front yard.
And I understand the motivation is that it's not in there, but in practice it was being allowed. So we're gonna clear that up. And
Yes.
okay.
Good stuff. Any other questions? Any comments? Do we have a motion?
I move that we accept the amendment regarding chain link fences.
Motion is made.
I'll second.
Call when ready.
Keach,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Deweese,
Yes.
Zobrist,
Yes.
Farrell.
Yes.
Approved.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up, under public hearings, we have another ordinance, this one making amendments to business and industrial districts. It's my understanding we are still working on this one, so this should be tabled for the evening.
Yes.
So we need a motion and an approval to table the second line item, which is the accessory building in business districts and industrial districts ordinance change.
I'll move to table.
Thank you. You have a second?
Second.
Call when ready.
Knapp,
Yes.
Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Deweese,
Yes.
Zobrist,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Keach.
Yes.
Approved.
Thank you very much. Next up is an ordinance making amendments to the section 1089 of the municipal code regarding Old Morton District. In your agenda packet for the evening, you do have a revised map that shows where that district is. It's a green overlay. Brad, can you give the table kind of a brief narrative on this?
Yes, so in the old Morton district, which does not require parking requirements for businesses, there is, so on the east side, starting at 316 South Main down to 330 South Main, there are, on the east side of the street, there are businesses there with very limited parking. We felt like that should be included in the no parking requirements because it makes it very difficult for certain businesses to go in these establishments and create a business and meet the parking requirements that are needed. They're kind of small buildings. They're small, suites, I guess you would call them. So we just felt like we would include this and it'd be appropriate for that. So basically it goes from, if you know where the plaza is, the Memorial Plaza, there's a parking lot to the south, and it would be that line of almost like buildings that would go down to where, if you remember, the old bowling alley was.
So is that the only change on this map, is you're adding that little peninsula there?
Yes.
It's here.
Didn't you also included the apostolic, where the apostolic church was? At least when I compared it to the old one.
Up off of Madison, like
Is
between
that-
Madison and Jefferson?
I think that because it was parking area, I think it was included in there.
We previously identified municipal parking lots on the map. We decided not to continue to do that. It wasn't necessary, and over time those have changed, and it just takes out one cause to amend in the future when if it's not necessary for what we're doing. So that was another slight change.
And so these businesses would just use town parking, which if I remember correctly, we did a study not very long ago that said there's ample parking in the downtown area, right? And we feel that's still
Yes.
relevant and current.
Yes. I mean, there is off-street parking there. They do have that with that parking lot to the south of the plaza, and then in front of those businesses, you've noticed there's spots. So there is off-street parking available. We just won't have a requirement for it.
Any other questions regarding this change?
Apart from parking, are there other reasons why we designate the Old Morton District? Is there another purpose to it besides just the parking?
I mean, are you referring to the previous map or just the new?
Well, for
old-
instance, like mixed use is all in. Is that there's all these districts, right? So was mixed use also in the old Morton district, or is that a
Well,
separate?
the old Morton district is exclusively for parking requirements.
It's just for parking.
Exclusively,
Okay.
yes.
And
That
that's
map
part
is
of why, is
exclusive.
so that you can understand which labels are in there. The downtown, well, and Pat, you can jump in on this, but
Sure.
that mixed use is kind of an overlay on top of this.
There are a couple other places the Old Morton District is mentioned in Title 10, in the permitted uses in the B1 district. Living quarters above
Right.
a building not to exceed one apartment are permitted in the Old Morton District. In 10.6.2, special uses There's provision for additional, I think, additional living quarters in the Old Morton District, the special parking requirements. So I think there's, adding on to what Brad said, I think that's the other trigger, is that one apartment over the top of businesses in the Old Morton District.
How does the Old Morton District compare to the, where mixed use is allowed? Is it very similar?
It's real similar. In fact, I believe that's part of what we used as our
The starting point?
as our starting point.
And that's kind of what my point was, is I thought there may be a little bit more of an impact than just parking by adding that, but maybe not significant.
I think probably, I'm guessing here, part of the challenge probably with some of this stuff is they want to make sure that businesses that can't possibly accommodate a 1-for-1 parking ratio, but that already exist. So as an example, if you had a 10,000 square foot office building that formerly housed 5 workers, and now because of changes to the marketplace or whatever, it's been subdivided into, you know, multiple 2,000 square foot sites. Well, you might need more parking, but you don't have it. So this sort of allows them to give that a shot and figure it out.
In 1015-6, and actually I've got a copy of it here, the mixed-use district. The mixed-use district is a little larger geographically than the Old Morton District.
Thank you.
Any other questions this evening regarding this change? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the amendments to the Morton District area, Old Morton District area.
Thank you very much. Motion is made.
I'll second.
Thank you. Call when ready.
Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Zobers,
Yes.
DeWeese,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yeah.
Keach,
Yes.
Net.
Yes.
Approved.
Great, thank you. Next up this evening, we have ordinance making amendments to Title 10 of the Morton Municipal Code regarding tattoo parlors. That is included in your agenda items here, and I believe we have someone from the public that can do a quick presentation. Whoever would like, would you go ahead and swear in? You can do so at the, I think you can do so at the mic, is that correct now? Yeah, so that you can keep your social distance. All right, so first she'll have you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Great, if you could give your names and addresses for us.
Sure. This is my husband, Jason Parker, and I'm Amanda Parker. We live at 336 North Main, or I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. 3rd, sorry. That's where we'd like to be. Doing business is on Main, on 3rd Street in Morton, Illinois.
Great. Why don't you just kind of give us a brief, I know that you are part of the reason why we're seeing this tonight. I think most everyone here knows a lot about what modern tattoo parlors are in comparison to what potentially they used to be thought of.
Absolutely.
But go ahead and give us kind of just a brief synopsis of the business and what you're thinking of doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband is a tattoo artist. I'm working pro bono. I'm a communications manager at State Farm, but working together. And what we'd like to do is there's a building on North Main Street. I think it's 142 on Main, and it is in the downtown area. What's great about that location for us is the type of business that tattooing is. The foot traffic, the auto traffic is great for business. The other part about the location in that downtown B2 district is the fact that many of our clients come to us really for more than just a tattoo. It's really about an experience. And so we look at the businesses that are around that location where someone may come in to get a tattoo, but they would like to go out to dinner afterwards or swing down by the popcorn shop and, pick up a drink or some popcorn. And so that's what we really love about the location down there. Tattooing really, the information that we sent over, it's a luxury. People really like to come and many times get something in remembrance of a loved one, or on the other side of the coin, celebrate something that they love or that they cherish. And so that's a big part of our clientele is really providing that to them and doing it in an environment that is safe, is clean, and like Justin said, doesn't look maybe like what you may picture an old style tattoo parlor looking like, where it feels like that type of an experience where it has that luxurious or upscale feel to it.
Anyone from the table, before you go, any questions for the petitioner directly? Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you.
All right, as I said, the ordinance was included in the packet, so you've had an opportunity to review it. Any questions either for council or for the village?
So I have a general question, just what prompted why wouldn't this be treated as any other business? What's particular about a tattoo parlor that would require this ordinance?
In general terms, in our zoning code, we have defined uses, and so if somebody wants to open a business, we look at our list of uses and figure out where they fit.
Okay.
And B3 is a catch-all, so if you don't fit in any other defined use, B3 is where you are for service and retail establishments. And so when the petitioner here spoke to Brad, and Brad and I had some conversations, took a look at the existing defined uses, it didn't fit within anything that's currently in our code, so that puts them in B3. And so in order to essentially give the use a different zoning home, we need to define the use and then categorize it as permitted or special in a zoning district.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Are tattoo parlors subject to like Department of Health inspections and those kinds of things?
Yes, they are. So you probably know better than I do.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if you go back up the microphone, it helps create a good record for the public for what you said, so thank you.
So in the packet that we sent over, there is information. So the state of Illinois health codes are what we follow. That includes the OSHA bloodborne pathogen certification that has to be renewed on a yearly basis. The state of Illinois, which he has the OSHA regulations already, but the state of Illinois, we have to actually submit an application, which takes about 4 to 6 weeks. A health inspector comes out and inspects where you're going to have the parlor at. I would say it's not as stringent as, say, like a food service, but something maybe close to like a beauty salon, cosmetology, something like that. So there's a few little regulations that you really have to follow.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a licensed profession? Does the state license it?
More or less, like with having the health department come in, we register, they come, they approve it, making sure that it meets the guidelines for it to be open, and you pay for that, and then you're registered, and then you renew that every year, and they're supposed to come however often they want, just to make sure that the place is held to the health requirements they request for the state of Illinois.
It's not
So, yes.
dissimilar to a restaurant in that way, where they can random inspections.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Any other questions, either for the petitioner or in general regarding the ordinance? Thank you, guys. As soon as you sit down, there'll be another question. Thoughts, concerns, or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this change amendment to the B2.
Regarding tattoo parlors, thank you. Motion is made.
I will second.
Call when ready.
Ritterbusch,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Zobers,
Yes.
Deweese,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Keach,
Yes.
Knapp.
Yes.
Approved.
Great, thanks, guys. Okay, that will end the public hearing portion of the meeting. Now on to other business. As you see in the agenda, we have 3 plat vacations. One for Orchard Hills, one for Wolf Crossing, and one for Morton Commerce Park. Brad, what can you tell us from the village regarding these? Are these just,
Yes, so these
Left
are all
behind.
combining of lots, but as they combine, there's utility easement that lies between the combining. So this is a plat of vacation to vacate those easements by the utility companies. That way, there's no more rights for utilities to be put through there. If that covers it.
you've got the maps that were included in the agenda. They show where these easements laid within each of these locations. Again, Orchard Hills, Wolf Crossing, and the Commerce Park. You've got 2 residential and 1 commercial. Any questions this evening from the commission? You need a formal vote on this, and then do we have to sign off on them as well? Okay.
Can this be voted on all 3 at
Yep.
the same time?
Yeah.
You can do an omnibus.
Yeah.
Yep. Motion for all 3. Make a motion that we approve these vacations.
All 3?
All,
Motion is made for all 3 of these to be approved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Call when ready.
Smock,
Yes.
Zobrist,
Yes.
DeWeese,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Keach,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Ritterbusch.
yes.
Approved.
Great, thank you very much. End of other business. Anything else from the village this evening?
Nothing tonight.
No? All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
There it is. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?